You can. Hey, this your girl Topnotch Fowler, and I have the pleasure on in interviewing Yasheeda Galloway tonight. How are you?
I am good.
Okay, we about to start this interview. So, who named you Yasheeda?
My late mother.
Okay, okay. And what do you have a short version of Yasheeda?
Yes, I'm known by Yaya.
Okay, all right.
Hmm.
So, guess what? This interview we're gonna use Yaya. Is that
Okay,
okay?
that's perfect.
Okay.
That's fine.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Yaya?
About myself. Well, I guess what I would say is I'm a hard worker. I am really dedicated to anything that I touch, anything that I involve myself in. Um, I am big on loyalty and principle, energy,
Energy.
and sometimes I can be very misunderstood.
Okay. And that's okay, right?
Yeah,
That's okay. So can you tell us a little bit about your parents? Yeah, yeah.
sure. My mom, she passed away when I was 25 years old.
Okay.
My mother was a very strong woman. She was known in Northwest DC, Fifth and O area. Um, my mom was someone special. She was an orphan,
Hmm.
and she had four kids along the way, and then she kind of had an opportunity to learn more about life, basically raising herself, learning from being on the street and things like that. And she ended up landing a government job and kind of pulling herself together and realize what it meant to actually plan to have a baby.
Okay.
And I was that one.
Okay.
So again, she was a very strong woman. She had her ups and downs in life. I lost her for a few years. She went to the federal penitentiary. I ended up in foster care and things like that. But when she got out, she promised that no matter what, she was going to get me back.
Okay.
My mother rode bicycles for dominoes
Right. Right.
across DC.
Okay.
She was just a very lovable person, and she did everything that she could do, and she stood on her word, and she did that.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Strong black queen.
Strong black woman.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. What about dad?
And dad, my biological dad, he is also was known in Northwest DC as well. He was known for his gambling spots. They call him Bear. So he had the in-house gambling spots in Northwest DC, and he was something. He had other children. He really wasn't a part of my life growing up. I did get him at a very hard time in my life when I suffered some medical challenges or what have you. But I was more so raised by my stepdad, who has also since passed away, and his name was Briscoe. But my dad was cool though. When you get around him, you forget anything that he did or what he didn't do because he was just a jokester and he
Right.
was just a lovable guy.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, yeah. Is it difficult juggling your family life along with your business?
Um, it used to be.
Okay.
Because again, I'm such a hard worker. Even before I became a business owner, in my line of work as an armed officer, I work 100 hours. I work, 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 work. So, um, in becoming a business owner, I must say this was the hardest thing I ever did in my life. I don't know who told me to do this, but so I got to a point where I had to find balance. I had to make myself take breaks and be able to be there for my home, for my family and things like that. So It's okay to work hard and grind and all of that, but you must be able to find balance. And I have finally been able to do that in my life.
Okay. So you mentioned that you were an officer. So what made you change your career path?
Interesting. Well, it wasn't by choice. I'm gonna try to make a long story short, but it wasn't by choice. I actually suffered some medical issues in the year of it began in the year of 2012, and then it surfaced again in the year of 2015. Um, right when I got my secret clearance. So, long story short, it was a friend of mine that kind of branched off into this industry, and I went in to help her out with the business, and one thing led to another. Um, it was said that I was becoming a face of the business, and before you know it, I was basically kicked out, and we were no longer working together.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I didn't know. I still didn't know that all of that hard work that I put in for that time was leading up to who I am today. I did not know what Allah had planned for me.
Okay.
Um, and so this industry, basically, I didn't choose it; it chose me.
Okay. That's fair. Do you have any advice for mothers out here that is trying to manage their journey?
Um, yeah. What I can say is what helped me is I had to get strong in my faith. I had to remember who's in control. And with that being said, basically, Allah just He guides my path. I believe that once you remember the importance of basically what's important, um, you can you can balance.
Okay.
You know.
So yeah, how do you balance?
Hmm. So what I do is, first of all, I try to make sure that I'm new to Islam, so I put a lot of focus in studying and basically becoming the the best Muslima that I can possibly be, despite of me growing up Christian.
Okay.
Other than that, I have a son. He's 10 years old and he's autistic.
Okay.
So that takes up the other chunk of my life.
Okay.
Um, and so, and, and basically, like I said, I just focus on being happy with my family inside of the house, outside of my clients, and, just thinking of ways every day that I can make my situation better. And whether that's at home with my kids, whether that's with my business, just overall as a person.
Okay. So so tell us about the health part of Yaya, the journey and what occurred. I want you to speak on it for the listener audience.
Well, in the year of 2012, I suffered an erupted brain aneurysm that just basically hit me out of nowhere. I got off duty, was working at the Department of Interior, um, and I actually was supposed to go back that night for a special task, and my brain just erupted. And with that being said, that was interesting. Basically, I was sitting inside of my truck this particular day. I was sitting inside of my SUV. I usually get inside my car and crank it up and pull off. But this particular day, I got in and I sat there. It was hot outside, all the windows rolled up, and my heart just started pounding. And I first started basically just second guessing myself. I'm like, I'm thinking I'm having a heart attack. I'm like, oh no, nothing's wrong. And it just got more intense and intense. And then before you know it, it was like I felt this explosion in my head. And my head hit the back of the seat in my truck. And from my eyes, the sky and everything turned gray.
Okay.
And at that point, how I see it is the angels was released, and I was able to open my SUV door and push my body out so I can fall out onto the ground because nobody knew I was in my car. So anyway, once that happened, I now learned that I was going into the stages of being in a coma. So I can hear you, I can see you, but I can't respond. So I just remember my son, my neighbors, everybody running outside, and my son is screaming and crying and things like that. And I remember being in, I remember laying on the ground, and I remember going into an ambulance and them constantly asking me what's wrong. I kept pointing to my head.
Okay.
So they began asking my family, is she on any drugs or anything like that? It's like, no, she's not on drugs. Got me over to a hospital, Greater Southeast,
Okay.
which don't deal with trauma.
Okay.
So when they took me over there, my sister is with me the whole time. So she said, the doctor asked me again, what is wrong with you? And I said, brain aneurysm. And she said, the doctor was like, it's no way she would know she's having a brain aneurysm. And again, asked, was I on any type of drugs for saying that I was having a brain aneurysm? And then she said, from that point, I covered my face and said, I'm going to die. And they did another test or so. And before you know it, I was med back to Washington Hospital Center.
Okay.
So all that to say, when your brain erupt, you should be in surgery within 30 minutes.
Facts.
I didn't get into surgery for 3 hours. Yeah, so that's that. I stayed on life support for some time. As the blood sat on my brain, I then my drains got clogged that was in my brain. So a nurse accidentally came into the wrong room, and she's the one that caught it. It wasn't even her assigned room. She's the one that caught it. So this particular nurse ended up finding out who she was. It was hamdulillah to her. So then they caught that. They fixed that.
Okay.
Then a few days later, I went into a stroke.
Okay.
So at this point, they prepared the family that I was not going to survive, that I would succumb from my injuries. They were pretty clear on it, to the point my family, they cleaned out my house, they separated my cars. My sister took custody of my son, and I was basically counted out.
Okay.
So the night that I was supposed to pass away in my sleep from the stroke, I actually survived. And obviously I'm here, right?
Yeah.
but I survived, and actually ended up being paralyzed. So Dr. Lou, shout out Dr. Lou at Washington Hospital Center, they gave him 3 hours to go back into my brain again and find the vessel that went into the bin that caused the stroke. 3 hours. If he doesn't find it in 3 hours, I will be permanently paralyzed, or I would die in surgery. Dr. Lou didn't find it until 6 hours later, and he refused to stop. He found it and fixed it and put metal coils around different parts of my brain, and brought my feeling back. And I ended up in a stroke rehab. So now this goes back to my dad really quick. So my dad was called to the hospital, my biological dad. And when he came to the hospital, just before he came, he was diagnosed with early stages of dementia. So when he came, the stress kind of took him over the edge. But that was the first time in my life that I had been around my dad for as long as he came. The first, when I went into the hospital for the aneurysm, I was told, and he stayed all the way through the stroke rehab and everything from day one to the end. He was the one that took me home from the hospital. But it had stressed him out so bad to see me like that. A few months later, he deteriorated and he died. Yeah. So, but yeah, so that was my that was my thing in 2012. It was, yeah, it was something. I was 29 years old. Almost took me out at 29 years old. Um, so yeah, that was that. And then the last part is I was doing good and everything after that. And then come 2015, all of a sudden my entire body started going numb, starting at my ankles. And anyway, went over to the emergency room at GW 3, 4 times. They're like, we don't, there's nothing wrong. I'm like, all right, well, cool, because I got a trip to Miami and I'm going to get on
Okay.
this plane and
Right.
I'm trying to make sure that
Right.
I'm okay. And I'm like, yeah, you
Okay.
good. So I went on and flew to Miami because I would take my son and fly him out every spring break.
Okay.
Yep. So long story short, coming back from Miami, the numbness had got all the way up under my breast
Okay.
at this point. So at this point, I got off the plane, I got my kids home, and I went back to GW and I told them I'm not leaving until y'all figure out what's wrong with me.
Okay.
So anyway, they did a emergency MRI the next morning, and they were going to send me home again. I'm like, y'all really gonna send me out here again? I can't even walk.
Hospitals. Mm-hmm.
So, so anyway, I go outside. I'm waiting on my Uber. I can literally see my Uber coming around the bend. The doctor called me like, Miss Galloway, where you at? I'm like, ready to get in my Uber. He said, no, turn around, come back now. You're ready to be paralyzed. I'm like, what? So I go back in, and anyway, I was diagnosed with a very rare disease. Most people have heard of multiple sclerosis, MS. Well, I have what's called is they label it the sister disease to multiple sclerosis, and it's NMO, neuromyelitis optica. So its goal is to attack the spinal cord and the optic nerve of the eyes. Well, anyway, we're gonna get to the successful part of all of this, okay?
Okay.
So after all of that, of course, they put me on all these medications and all this stuff, and I got to the point like every year, like my coworkers knew my back would go out, I can't walk, and it was bad. And I just kept hearing, "You are what you eat. It's the food. It's the food. It's the food." So in 2019, I just decided. I said, you know what? I'm not eating meat no more. I'm ready to change my entire diet, and that right there has been my success. My blood work kept coming back. The doctors was asking me like, "Yo, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Not taking that medicine."
Right. Okay.
Wasn't taking any. I still to this day don't take anything.
Okay.
Um, I lost a lot of weight, and I mean, they were just curious, like, "Are you seeing somebody else?" I'm like, "I'm not seeing anyone. I just stopped eating meat, changed my diet. I'm working out." And the doctor was like, "Well, you've done yourself a good justice." I'm like, "But not one time have y'all ever, advised to change my diet, to stop eating meat."
Wow.
Okay. So I guess, you put labels and stuff. So I guess I'll say I'm a pescatarian.
Okay.
I eat, seafood and stuff like that. But anyway, I mean, I'm fine. I'm
Okay.
good. All of that. And here I am today. I'm good. Everything work on me. Everything is good.
A
Okay.
walking testimony. A walking
Everything
testimony.
works
Yeah. Yeah.
good. And um, nobody really. Oh, one thing that did devastate me, and my sister thought I was crazy for crying about this, but I had locks. I had some really pretty locks, and my locks hung all the way down my back towards my butt. And of course, I lost it in surgery. They shaved me bald, and it took me a long time to really speak what happened to me. When I was in a stroke rehab, an older lady kept saying, she's like, "Baby, why are you in here?"
Oh.
And that was like the first time I really spoke it. And I reached for my hair and I just cried. And I said, I had a brain aneurysm. And she said, "Oh, what?"
Right.
So I was really devastated over my hair, but that was one thing. I lost all my hair. It since has grown
Okay.
back and stuff like that, but that was something that was really devastating for me.
Okay. So how did you do in rehab? What was that experience like?
In rehab, it was funny because that's what I'm really just understanding and accepting what has happened to me. And I was the youngest one in there.
Okay.
And the older people in there, they just couldn't understand. They just kept looking at me. They just couldn't understand. And I needed to learn how to walk again. So it started from like baby stages. I literally wobbled like a baby. I couldn't hold my balance or anything. Well, before we even get to that point, I wouldn't even get out the bed. It hurt so bad because all of the blood left my spine and went to my brain. So we had to get the blood to start to return. So, oh my goodness, that was some painful. The therapist would come in there and say, "It's time to get up." I'm like, "No, get out. I'm not moving."
Right.
And they would go and start pulling me, and I would cry and I would scream, like, it hurts. And it was like, "Well, until you move, you know." And then I remember one day she just came in there and they put some type of ropes around me and pulled me up out that bed. And I was like, "Oh my." And so they would do that every day and make me walk. And before you know it, I was striding. I had a real bad limp. I had a bad nerve in my leg from all of this. So I had a bad limp. And so once I was released from the stroke rehab, and I just want to say shout out to my mother too, because even though she was gone, I know it was because of her that I was still here. I know she was like, "No, let her stay, let her stay."
Right.
Worried about her grandson, you know. But when I got out of the stroke rehab, again, I had this real bad limp. And the doctor said that it's a bad nerve that basically can take years, if ever, to get back right. They told me I wouldn't be able to shoot my weapon again. Basically, they canceled me out of my line of work. And so, yep, sure enough, I was at my sister's house and they were preparing, her and her husband was preparing to get me to the hospital to start on this nerve medicine that they were going to start me on. So someday, eventually, I'll get my, it'll get better and I'll be able to walk straight or whatever. So this is like, no lie. We get ready to go and I'm just walking around the house. And my sister was like, "Wait a minute." She was like, "Where's that limp at?" And I was like, "What?" And I started shaking my leg. I was like, "Ah, it's gone. Oh my God, it's gone."
Right.
And it was unbelievable. So the doctors was like, "Your body is literally healing itself." So everything they said I wasn't gonna be able to do,
You did.
I did everything again. Unfortunately, on paperwork with my health condition and stuff, I could no longer pass the agility in law enforcement. Especially I was trying to go further in law enforcement, so it's more intense. I had finally got my secret clearance, um, sharpshooter, everything. But on paperwork, don't look like I'm a good candidate.
Okay. But physically, you was a good
But
candidate.
physically,
Right. Right.
shoot, I was still moving. But yeah, so that's that.
So after all of that, you survived, right? What made you decide to go into caregivers?
So once again, it's like it's so crazy because um, not to talk too much about the situation that happened when I was working with someone
Okay.
else,
Right.
but I literally went in to do just that, to help out, because this individual was a friend, right? And so while I was, helping out, I mean, I'm going in there like it's a 9 to 5. And I'm never taking light off the situation of the owner or anything like that. I'm just like, this is a team. We're a team, or whatever. I'm helping you out, whatever. So I didn't know what I was being set up for, right? Um, so again, like I said, in the end of all of that, I met so many. First of all, it was hard for me because I grew up, I'm a tomboy. So I
Me too.
girly girl stuff and all that was never my thing. Okay. And so when she said we're gonna work on bodies, I'm like, work on bodies? What? She said contouring. I'm like, what, they getting surgeries. I'm like, surgeries? Like, I was lost. So, but I ended up meeting so many different women, and um, they were just connecting with me. Like, they trusted me. They were calling me. They were, I don't know what it was between me and her, but we were just and we were vested, with each other. So, um, so in the end, when all of it kicked off the way that it did, um, I remember calling up my brother and telling him about it and stuff, and he was just going off. He's like, "Man, you good? You like this is for you." And he asked me one thing, and he said, "Let me ask you a question." He said, "Have you ever sat back and thought about the fact that God knows your heart? He knows who you are. He knows who she is. He put all that together, and he knew what was going to happen to you. But it was for you to get that information because it's your heart that's really involved with these people." That was one thing. And then, so I was like, okay, but I'm used to working. I'm used to clocking in. So I actually had applied for a job, like a desk job for postal police and things like that. So I was like in the mix of the postal service. I was out on an injury around this time. So the postal service, they kept, they were sending letters like, come back to work. What are you going to do? Are you going to come back? Basically, termination. I'm just crying. I'm like, what? Every time I'm thinking about going to work, I would get a call. And I'm like, God, what do you got me doing? Like, I need to get a job, like,
Right.
or whatever. All the way until basically I got fired.
Wow. Okay.
And so when I got fired, it was like, oh well, I guess this is it. And so many doors just kept opening. And I met this woman who is amazing in the industry. Like, she's a genius in the industry. There was some other little things that had transpired or whatever, like coming up to this day and time, but it has nothing to do with her education in this field. She is the goat all through Miami, DC, you name it, cross country. She's the goat. So I started to learn so much about the human body and how to really care for people and be able to look at how things was running at that location, how I see all these places popping up and doing this and that, and being able to see the difference and understanding that when a person come to you and want you to help them with their body, first of all, a couple of things has happened. They trust you, for one. They really want change. Okay. So it's more than just money. You need to really know how to help this person or let this person go. So I got really invested to it. And then I went to massage therapy school to further learn the body and how the body works and things like that. And from there it just went crazy. Like, I just, he has just opened so many doors for me. And I know I got so much further to go, but I'm so humble, alhamdulillah, to where I am today from where I started at in this industry and how I got into this industry.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So how do you find your clients, or do they find you, Yaya?
So a lot of my clients are basically word of mouth. I do have a social media presence. I ain't hit 10,000 followers yet, but hopefully I do after this show. But
You probably will.
but but a lot of it is word of mouth, and I have, I just must say that there is a amazing doctor that basically got word on me, and sometimes it brings me to tears even, talking about it. Because people are so judgmental out here. People are so judgmental. Either
Facts.
you don't talk right, maybe
Facts.
you look ghetto, you look. I mean, like people are so judgmental
Judgmental.
that it's crazy. Before they even get to know you, they have already threw you in a box,
Past judgment.
right? And so for this woman as a doctor, and then her background is crazy. Reading her background had me in tears. Okay. Um, her fight for people with HIV and and just it's so, but for her to trust me with her patients is out of this world.
Okay.
And so I dedicate everything to know that I know that I know how to properly care for people. And then there's been some times where she would critique me. So she didn't judge me or say she don't want to work with me. She would say, I understand why you're doing it like this, y'all, but I want to do it like this.
Okay.
And we just meet. We just so compatible. We just such a team. So, but anyway, that's that. Before I go on and on and on and on about this doctor.
Okay.
But anyway, she sent me patients. So
Okay.
word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Sometime I get random hits on social media. It's a couple of other surgery centers too that will send me patients.
Okay.
But she is like top tier as far as sending me clients and things like that. So that's how I get them. Yeah.
So, superstar,
Uh oh.
let's talk about these movies.
Uh oh. Yeah, that's another thing that's like crazy. I never in my years thought that I would be even involved with movies and things like that. So I did know that my story wasn't in vain, my story, and that someday my story would be told. But how I actually got into these movies was by a guy named Anton Jones. Anton Jones, he's a guy. He's a good friend of the family. I will say he knew my mom and things like that. And he used to own clubs. This is before my time, so I'm telling the story. This before my time. So he owned clubs and things like that. And next thing I know, what I find out about his story is that he was arrested and then he ended up finding his attorney and fighting his own case. Well, anyway, once he got out and everything, they started to make a documentary about his life. And next thing I know, I ended up getting in contact with him through someone else in my family, and he was like, "Hey, you want to be in my movie?" I'm like, "What?" Yeah, I want to do it. Like, can I be like a police or something? Because I know how to do that naturally. Right. Like, can I be like a guard or something? So sure enough, he put me in as a guard, and then I saw these other like actors and all this stuff, and even Anwan Glover,
Okay.
Backyard Bang, he was in there.
Okay.
Man, Anwan Glover did our first. It was his first TikTok, and it was my first TikTok. So we did our first TikTok together on set and all this stuff like that. But that's how I got into it. And then after that, I was intrigued. So I had hit up a couple of people, a couple of producers, movie producers and stuff, and I was hearing basically you took acting classes, go take classes and all this. Like, all right, well, this ain't for me then. But one thing about me, if it's something that I want to do, I ain't gonna give up. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep trying, and I'm not gonna give up because guess what? You'll know it's somebody else's
yes.
Somebody gonna give me a chance, and there we go. So I want to take this time right here to shout out my three, like I say, on Anton Jones, because if it wasn't for Anton Jones, um, I wouldn't even been walking in the path that I'm walking in far as the movies.
Okay.
But then we're gonna give a shout out to Roosevelt. Okay, Team Roosevelt. Roosevelt gave me my second script as a parole officer in one of his movies called Messy. And he believed in me just off the, he didn't know me from a can of paint. I was like, hey, I want to be in your movie.
Okay.
I was like, and he was like, okay, okay, I got something for you. And when he said parole officer, I was like, yes,
I got it.
I can do that. And so he gave me my lines and stuff. And one little thing I want to say about this is that most people don't know. I guess they'll know now, but um, it's very. It was a thing where I challenged myself. Is why I like to do it, because the side effects from my brain eruption is memory loss. So I like to challenge myself, and it's a thing like you keep on saying what you can't do, yeah, you ain't gonna be able to do it,
Okay.
right?
Right.
So I just try not to say I'm not gonna remember the lines, and this is something else that I'm telling you, like, alhamdulillah, like I get those scripts and I read over it, and I know it in 5 seconds. I'm like, how the hell do I remember this? Like, I can't even remember what my client said yesterday, but I remember these lines. So, but anyway, yeah, Roosevelt was the first one person. Then after that, same thing. I was introduced to World War Polo on Instagram. Shout out to Polo. I was introduced to Polo by a girl that was actually one of my clients. And my clients be forever clients. We be like, we locked in.
I like that.
Off subject real quick. I had someone tell me, you can't make friends. Your clients are not your friends. And my clients is more than my clients. Some of them actually become like family.
Okay.
And not one time do anyone try not to pay or whatever, because but anyway, this one particular lady introduced me to Polo, and he was making the New Balance boys at this time.
Remember.
And I wanted to be a sponsor. I was doing everything, get my business. I fought to get my business out there. I was everywhere. I used to be at the clubs promoting, people were drunk. I'm passing them flyers. I'm talking about, yes, I can do some wood therapy. I can do this. They look at me like, what? But do you know how many people contacted me over time and say, yeah, I met you at the backyard show. I met you at the junkyard show. I'm like, yay, yes. It worked. So, but anyway, I hit up Polo and I was like, yo, can I be a sponsor for your movie?
There you go.
And so it started off as a sponsor. And he was real cool. Once again, no judgment zone. It was like, yeah, you could be a sponsor and things like that. And then next thing you know, we met up and stuff. And I forgot, I ended up asking him, well, is there any more space for me to actually be in the movie? And he was like, I think so. We're going to put something together. And I'm like, man, this man ain't not going to put nothing together and put me in this movie. And sure enough, he put something together. Next thing I know, Polo had his whole team at my house filming.
Oh, that's what's up.
Filming at my house. And you know me, I look out for whoever I can look out for. I needed a client. I called my gym instructor. Shout out to Jamie at the bounce class. I'm like, yo, can you be my client? Jamie like, what? Like, yeah, we're going to be in a movie. So Jamie came out, but it was dope. That was another wonderful experience. I was able to kind of freelance in that movie.
Okay.
They gave me the goal of it and things like that, and it was good. And then so I'm hyped now. Now I'm like, shoot, I need some more lines now. Because first I'm good for them 10 seconds. Don't give me nothing longer than that, because I'm not trying to embarrass myself. Okay, so I'm like, okay, I think I can do a little bit more now. So then here we go with Mitch Creedle.
Hey, Mitch.
Now Mitch Creedle, he was on the set of the Proceed Litigator with Anton Jones. My first time stepping into this field. And so he knew me from then. And so I will always mess with Mitch because Mitch is a former homicide detective. So
Correct.
and he's in a lot of crime shows and stuff, and that's really always been my passion, the crime shows, because I can do that. Right?
That's your favorite,
That's
right?
my favorite, right?
Okay, got it.
There you go. So I was like, I can do that stuff. So I will always mess with Mitch and asking him, different questions and stuff like that. So man, he was casting for informant. I said, oh my goodness.
Perfect. Got it.
I hit Mitch up. I say, Mitch, can I get a shot? Or whatever. He was like, basically he'll see what he can do. And next thing I know, he was like, he told me send him my information. By this time, I got information. Okay? Yeah, I got Proceed Litigator. I got Messy. Yup. I'm in there now. So, and I had the New Balance boys. I had 3 under my belt at that point. And so I sent it to him and everything, sent him my little headshot and everything. Mitch hit me back. He said, yeah, you in.
Oh, look at it. That's what's up.
Yep. So Mitch gave me a role as a DA. First, I'm gonna tell this part right here, because first Mitch gave me a role as a prostitute. Okay.
Wait a minute, Mitch. Mitch.
So I'm reading the lines. She like the lines like I'm like, what? No. We not doing this, man. Look. But now I remember from doing Messy as the parole officer. People actually remember me as that. You know what I'm saying? You was a mean ass parole officer, Miss Way. I'm like, ain't nobody about to be going around remembering me. No. And I got a man. No, we ain't doing that. Yes. But anyway, so I'm like, Mitch, I can't do that now. Wow. So he ended up saying, sorry, I'm gonna send you something else. So he sent me the role as a DA.
Okay. That's a lot better.
That was a DA, yeah. So I went in there and I did that, and Mitch was like, because I'm trying, and it's really intriguing for me. So I did that, and man, the guys was like, oh yeah, she did good, So I'm in informant too. Yeah, it's a lot of heavy hitters in informant though. It's a lot of heavy hitters. It's a lot of heavy hitters in informant. But y'all will see me for 5 seconds. I'm gonna kill that DA role for 5 seconds. Yeah, they gonna pick me up again after that one.
I like it.
So then after that, here come my man Roosevelt. He came back again. Me and Roosevelt. Roosevelt is he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He definitely look out for people and stuff like that. Again, no judgment zones and stuff. And he ended up giving me a role in his new upcoming film, Murder on a Pole. It got a little serious with this one now.
Got a little serious
with this one. Okay. I got a little bit more to say, a little bit more to do. I can't. Roosevelt real particular about his film, so I can't talk too much about it. Until it come out, okay?
Definitely is.
But yeah. So I'm in Murder on a Pole. Hopefully everybody like my performance on that one. That's going to actually air. The screening is going to be August, and I hope I'm not saying this date wrong, but I believe it's either August the 3rd or August the 8th. But one thing I am correct about is August 2025. The screening for Murder on a Pole will be out.
Okay. All right. So going back to the business, do you have a team that you work with? And if so, do you want to introduce your team?
Wow. Yeah, long time coming for a team. Goodness. But I can say that right now, alhamdulillah, I have a medical director. I was able to bring in a nurse. She's been a licensed nurse for over 20 years. Shout out to Majel. Majel is awesome. Not only is she a nurse and a part of the team, her energy, she just have a beautiful soul. And one thing I like about her is that even though she's a nurse, right, she's eager to learn from me. She wants to learn how to properly take care of people.
I love
She's
it.
not in there like, so how much can we get for this massage? You know, how much they paying for this?
Right.
This woman haven't asked about any of that as of yet. She's eager to learn. And I'll always I picked up from my instructor that when you're quick to talk about money, those not the people for you. Because if you properly learn how to care for people and properly learn how to do the right thing, money is going to find you. It's going to knock on your door. You don't have to go chase it. So anyway, shout out to Majel. I really believe that we're going to rock this thing out. And I also have a nutritionist now. She's a chef as well. Shout out to Stacy. Stacy again is another beautiful soul. And I needed these things a part of the business as I work with. I now offer we, no I's in this, us, we offer medical weight loss. Okay, medical weight loss, along with your, like I said, your non invasive care, your contouring, and all of that. So to have a nutritionist, a chef, goes hand in hand. I had a client just recently. She was down for it all. She was coming to her sessions and stuff, but she just like, yeah, I don't know what to buy at the grocery store. I need help. So anyway, I think that this team is coming together. I just had another wonderful person, well-known woman. Not going to throw her name out there just yet until we kind of lock in things or what have you. But she will be graduating esthetician school. So she'll be able to do the facials and things like that, trying to create a one-stop shop. Yep. So.
Okay.
Yep. But yeah. Shout out to Team Yaya.
Team Yaya.
Team Yaya.
So how can the listening audience reach out to you?
A few ways. You can send me a DM since everything is, wrapped around social media.
Facts.
It's just so hard for me. But DM on social media on Instagram at yayas.friends. And that is YAYAS.friends on Instagram. You can also check out my website, which is in a process of getting some upgrades, but it is there. You can book your sessions. You can order my waist trainers. Okay. www.yayasfriends.com. And you can also just give me a call. All right. You can call my business line at 1-833-292-9248. Okay. And I also want to say something about my waist trainers really quick. I have some amazing waist trainers rated by the people. Okay. Rated by real reviews, real people. My waist trainers can be purchased at Blossom Boutique at Tanger Outlet down at the National Harbor. Also at Collab Beauty Studio in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, as well as again on my website, or you can just come past the office and pick up one as well.
Okay, so where's your office located before we close?
Lanham, Maryland. All right, so that's going to be 9332 Annapolis Road, Lanham, Maryland.
Okay. Well, Yaya, thank you for taking this time out to share your amazing journey with us here at Talks with Topnotch. We're going to be looking at you. We wish you much success and be blessed.
Thank you.
Good night.